If you are interested in how to simplify your life by using meal planning, and also if you're a bit interested in how I shop and save money on my groceries every week, keep watching because I'll show you the method that I use every single week and hopefully it can save you some money as well. So keep watching. Hello there YouTube friends, welcome back to Simple Essentials. If you're new here, my name is Emmy. I live in Melbourne, Australia with my partner and our cat, and I create a lot of content around minimalism, simplicity, budgeting, organization, and all sorts of things like that. So feel free to hit that little subscribe button below if you haven't already subscribed, if you want to follow along. But I have noticed that there's quite a few people from overseas who've joined the channel recently, and I thought I'd make today's video with two purposes. One, to show you what some of the grocery prices are in Australia, because I personally really like watching videos from other countries and how people manage their budget and their grocery budget specifically. But it's really tricky because different countries, it will cost very different amounts, and I'm sure around Australia, if we were to compare, it's probably the same thing. But so that's the first reason for me wanting to share this with you. And the second thing is probably the biggest one. When it comes to not wasting money or time or resources like throwing away food, meal planning and grocery budget is probably the biggest thing. It's made a huge difference for us. It's taken away the stress of what's for dinner tonight. And even if it's just the two of us, it's still a thing when we've both worked a full-time job all day, we're tired, it's dinner time, and no one feels like being creative or innovative at, evening time. So I'm going to show you firstly how I meal plan, and we do this every single week. Normally we do this together, but I'm going to show it just with me today so you can see how I kind of do that. And then based on my meal plan, I will go to the grocery store. Normally, I do not buy things that are not on the grocery list unless it's a really good deal, like if meat is on clearance and I can, buy some extra minced beef or something and stick in the freezer, I will do that. You will see in my meal plan that I also use things from my freezer or pantry. But essentially, we don't have a huge stockpile anymore. We used to during the midst of the pandemic. We had a bit more of a stockpile of food at home just for emergencies. But the method I've probably adapted more in the last 6 months or so is that I always have a little bit extra on hand. I never run out of pasta. I never run out of pasta sauce. I never run out of all my proteins at the same time. So I try to replenish a little bit as I go, but I do try to stick to my grocery list. So without further ado, let me show you how I do the meal planning, and then I'm going to show you the grocery haul with some prices from here in Australia if you're curious to see what we'll be having this week. Okay, so now for the meal planning. I have two lists in front of me. One is a super simple, hand-drawn, not very pretty list of the week. We only meal plan for lunch and for dinner because normally in the morning we are either fasting or we'll just have a piece of toast or something like that. So that's my list with the days of the week that I'll be planning for. And on my other list, I have a couple of things that I have in the house or in my freezer that I'll be building the meals on this week. So I've checked, I've got minced beef, I've got some chicken fillets, and I've got some frozen vegetables. So sometimes this list is a lot longer, but we were actually quite low on a few things this week. So now, normally what my partner and I will do is that we sit down and go, what would we like to eat this week? Because for example, here in Australia at the moment, it's summertime, so it's pretty warm, so we don't necessarily want to have anything hot or cook something very hearty. So for this particular meal plan, I'm starting it on a Sunday, and quite often we go grocery shopping on the weekend. So we make sure that we have a meal plan that goes Sunday to Sunday or Sunday to Saturday. So this week, I already know that my beloved Paul would like some chicken parma. We normally make chicken schnitzel or chicken parma at home. And we're probably just going to have some sweet potato because I had that in the house. And maybe with some frozen veg as well, which I also had in the house. Now, we normally have the same thing 2 days, sometimes 2 days in a row, sometimes we mix it up. But in this case, we're going to have chicken parmas both on the Sunday and on the Monday, because it means that we only have to cook one time for 2 meals for 2 people. Often on the weekend, lunch will be like an omelette or something like that, which is good because I'll make sure that I have things on hand. I'll get some eggs and things like that. And yeah, and then it's just really about filling this in. So this particular week as well, one of the dinners that I was going to do is I'm going to do fried rice with tofu. So I know that I need to add tofu to my shopping list. So I'm doing all this before I go grocery shopping. Sometimes we also make a little, I mark who is going to be doing the cooking. So a P for Paul and an E for Emmy. So it means that we actually share the cooking most of the time, which means that no one has to cook every single day, which we both prefer because we both work full time. And then we have dinner out. I have a dinner out with a friend, so I'm going to be out for dinner and Paul is going to have leftovers. And then we are probably going to do something simple like a spag bowl or something like that. It's good old spaghetti bolognese. And Paul is a master of making that, so that is fine. And for lunches, we normally keep it super simple because we're still working from home here in Australia at the moment. I tend to prefer to just do something really simple like a tuna salad or something. So we'll probably just buy like a salad mix. So I'm gonna probably do tuna salad for about 2 days. It's usually my threshold of how long I can do the same thing. And I have an oven bake that I do with zucchini and other things. It's kind of like a frittata slice, which is really good. So I'll do that, and that should be enough for 3 lunches. And then we'll probably do either an omelette or something similar on the weekend. So that is essentially the meal plan for the week. Now this doesn't obviously have all the ingredients in it. I'm quite familiar with what goes into each of the ingredients. Into each of the recipes. So my next step, so this is what sits on the fridge the whole week. And if we want to swap the days out, and for example, Paul says to me, I would like to have the fried rice later in the week and the spag bowl earlier in the week, that's totally fine, because his spaghetti bolognese is really nice. And obviously depending on the weather and things like that. But having this meal plan ready before you even go to the shop, I tell you, it is amazing. And I didn't have every single thing written down on this list, but normally, because my desk where I'm sitting right now is literally 2 steps away from the fridge, freezer and pantry, so I will normally go and have a look as I'm making the meal plan as well. But what this basically does, it means that I can do my shopping list based on this and obviously any other things like toilet paper or other things we need in the house. So I don't get tempted to spend money on things that we don't need. We eat vegetarian probably about half of the time. We are trying to get better at eating less meat. But the biggest thing that this does for us is that we don't waste food, and I love that. So that is the meal plan for this upcoming week. It's a bit messy. Please apologize my handwriting, but this is how easy it is. You don't need a fancy app, you don't need a fancy spreadsheet if you don't want one. I know people who do this on whiteboards in their kitchen any time of the day. And the cool thing about this as well is if you have children, rather than them asking you and driving you crazy, just tell them to go have a look on the fridge and they'll know what's for dinner. So here you can see the full grocery haul for the week based on the meal plan you saw before. This entire shop was done at Aldi in Australia where I live, and it came to just over $90. I'll put the exact amount on the screen so you can know for comparison to where you live. That's Australian dollars. And we probably shop about 95% of the time at Aldi. There's only a few things that sometimes is a bit hard to get there. So I stuck to my list pretty well. And you'll see I have a few items in plastic, including this plastic net here. I do try to buy things without plastic if possible at all, but it is a little bit tricky when you're trying to budget as well. So here I've got some brown onions and some carrots. We always recycle the plastic bags. There's soft plastic recycling here in Australia. Got some gluten-free bread for Paul, some salad mix for the tuna salad that we're making this week. Sometimes I'll buy a head of lettuce, but this week I was a bit lazy and just got the pre-made mix. Got some veggies here, some tomato, some zucchini, some sweet potato and garlic, some fruit and some cheese, some fancy cheese slices for our chicken parmas that we're making this week. I also have one of my favorite guilty pleasure snacks, which is a rice cake that I try to have instead of chips. Just a tiny bit healthier, I guess. And some pasta as well, gluten-free pasta, and some milk for Paul. He normally likes the skim milk, whereas I prefer almond milk most often. And working our way across here as well, we've got some large cans of tuna that I buy the large cans and sort of keep in the fridge if I have any leftovers. Some mustard, chickpeas. I make my own hummus most weeks for snacks and things. It's super easy, and I can link one of my favorite recipes below if you are interested to make your own. It's very, very easy to do. Some pasta sauce because we were running out, and some decaf coffee as well. We are working from home, so we're having quite a few teas and coffees during the day, and we do prefer decaf in the afternoon if we feel like a coffee. Gluten-free flour, some schnackies. So this dark chocolate is actually really nice. It's one of my favorite snacks, go-to snacks. And I've got some microwave popcorn as well. So it's good to have on hand. We are trying to eat more vegetarian, and this tofu, I actually made a fried rice stir fry. I'll actually include a photo of that because it turned out really, really good. I did the marinade myself, and tofu, as you might know, is a lot cheaper than meat and things like that. We do go through quite a few eggs, so I always buy free range. It's one of those things I never negotiate on. It costs a tiny bit more, but it's worth it in my budget, so I always go free range if possible. Lemon juice for my hummus and all sorts of other things. Some yogurt. We often use yogurt instead of sour cream as well. Some cola for Paul. We do try to not drink too much soft drink, but every now and then that's the case. So that's the food bit of the grocery haul, and I'll include here on the screen what the total amount was for the grocery part. Obviously the amount might be quite different from where you live. And then we just had some non-food items that I needed. So cat food, some soap, some cleaning product, and some body wash, and a big pack of toilet paper because we were completely out of that. So there you go, that is the entire grocery haul for the week. This will last us really well. Obviously I do still have some things, like I said, in the fridge, freezer and pantry. I never run out completely, but that is what we are working with. So for a lot of people, they'll kind of go, how important is meal planning really? Well, I tell you, we waste almost no food at all anymore. I mean, yes, there is packaging and waste created because unfortunately we can't do quite zero waste lifestyle. We try wherever we can, and like I said earlier, we recycle all soft plastics, cardboard boxes and things like that wherever we can. But I think the biggest thing is that we do not waste food. We don't throw things away. It's very, very rare, maybe on the odd time when some salad goes bad in a bag in the fridge drawer or something like that, and we have to throw away a tiny little bit. But we do not waste food. And it's not because we eat bad food or not nutritious food. It's literally because we plan ahead. So I know that I have that stuff at home, and I make sure that I have pantry staples. So in a pinch, I can bake some healthier bread or do things like that to stretch my grocery budget as well. Now, like I said at the start, we're not on an extreme grocery budget. I may do an extreme grocery challenge down the track because I quite like watching them myself. But regardless of what budget you're on, if you meal plan and use what you have, you will find that you waste a lot less of your time, your energy, and your money. So I'm a very firm believer in meal planning. And also things like, if you have kids, if you've got a meal plan, even just like this little simple sheet, or if you have a whiteboard or something like that on your fridge, just having that in the house means that people won't come and hassle you and ask you what's for dinner because they know what's coming up. To some people, this might sound a bit boring or like, but there's no fun and flexibility. Well, there is. We normally, if we don't have a night out booked in our meal plan, we quite often do date night at least fortnightly. So if we're going to go out for date night, we can sometimes move around what day of the week that falls. And also, just because Paul said he would cook spaghetti bolognese on the Monday, Tuesday, doesn't mean that it has to happen on that day. It can be moved to later in the week. We both work full time, so what often happens is that one of us will be stuck in a call or in a meeting, which means the other person might take over and cook dinner that night, and then you'll do it later in the week. But what it means is that your ingredients for the 7 days are really helpful. It probably also helps that we are both happy to have the same meal for about 2 days or so, maybe a little bit more often with lunches because we tend to run out of time between meetings and have to eat lunch pretty quickly sometimes. But essentially, I don't mind at all to have the same thing once or twice. I don't want to have the same meal 5 days in a row. I know some people are really comfortable with that, and that's fine. But if I make a big batch of something, like a big batch of soup, and it's for 3 or more days, then what I tend to do is I freeze some of it, and we have that as part of our meal plan in a following week. So that's all for the meal planning. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to share and leave your comments below. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it really helps me out if you just hit that subscribe button underneath this video. All the best, and I hope to see you soon.